We all grow up with people telling us that education is the key to success, but the question of which type of education leads to the most success is rarely explored in much depth. The type that's focused on the most is almost always formal education. The standard advice from a decent parent is work hard in school, get good grades, and get a degree if you want to be successful. It's not bad advice by any means. It's the first thing you should do, but it's not the most important thing you should do. What's more important to become a massive success is to educate yourself throughout your life, and in the rest of this video I'll be explaining why that is and how you can start doing it more consistently. Formal education is the default. It's the first thing that comes to mind when someone says the word education, because that's the type we all become familiar with early on in life. The first stage of formal education is all about basic skills, reading, writing, and the level of maths you need to use money or follow a cooking recipe. This takes a couple of years. The stage following that is mostly about socialisation. The basic skills are expanded upon, from the bare minimum to the level expected from a reasonably functional adult. There's also a level of general knowledge taught about subjects like history that are more about being able to fit in with the people around you than being absolutely necessary to live your life and make a living. This stage is finished by the early teenage years. The basic skills are done, and what follows is effectively a competition to find out who's the best at a certain set of tasks. The popular book on entrepreneurship, 0 to 1, calls this stage the tournament. The tournament is designed to focus more on being a competition than on making people successful. Grades exist to be precise measurements of how well each student is competing. The people who succeed by these measures can end up defining their entire identities based on them, while those who don't can be made to feel inferior. The problem with this is that the skills required to succeed in the tournament are not the skills needed to succeed in life, and grades are only a measurement of success within the alternate reality of formal education, which has a wildly different set of rules to the rest of life. The tournament advances in stages, each more competitive than the last. First, you compete for good grades in high school. If you perform well there, then you can get into a good university. Then things really ramp up for the people who won the previous stage. They must compete with a smaller, tougher group of opponents, do well there, and the ultimate aim is getting a conventional high-wage job. That's supposed to be the prize, working for a large company to make someone else a lot of money. Parents used to tell their children that getting a good education guaranteed them a good career. I would assume a lot still do. You can't exactly blame them for that. When they were growing up, it was true. But that reality has changed. We've hit a point where technological progression is accelerating so quickly that the jobs people are training for often don't exist by the time they finish the training. In addition to this, a much higher proportion of people now have access to higher education, meaning that its value in the marketplace has been massively diluted. Having a degree is now no guarantee of a good job, and if you do manage to get one through that method, the old level of job security has also been removed. That's why self-education is now more important than ever before. Motivational speaker Jim Rohn once said, "Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune." This is because formal education will only make you above average at best. After all, you're only learning the same things as most other people. To be exceptional, you'll need to learn things for yourself. The first big advantage of self-education is that you can get the exact skills you want instead of going through the same structure as everyone else in a one-size-fits-all style of learning. Because you're focusing on the things you're most interested in, you'll enjoy the learning process more and be able to maintain your focus for longer periods of time without experiencing stress or burnout. Let's take the example of how it works with reading. The average person only reads 5 books a year, but the average CEO reads 5 books a month. That alone is good evidence for the importance of self-education. So you have to wonder, why do so few people read outside of what's required for their formal education? 1/3 of high school graduates never read another book for the rest of their lives. 42% of college graduates never read a book again after finishing college, and 80% of US families did not buy or read a book in the last year. The reason such a large chunk of the population gives up on reading is that it reminds them of boredom, of being forced to read books they're not interested in. Basically, it reminds them of school. When I was a kid, I liked reading about mythology and adventurers, but for my classes, you'd have thought all fiction was about the social etiquette of the upper class in 19th century England. It's impossible to come up with a choice that works for everyone, so they end up picking books that work for almost no one. With self-education, you can learn the way that works best for you, and that's what will have the biggest impact on your life. Instead of a set of lessons made as a compromise to somewhat work for a large number of people. The second advantage is that you'll be able to learn from the best. In a formal context, you're unlikely to have the world's greatest teachers, but when educating yourself, you have access to the greatest people who ever lived, in their own words, instead of filtered through an inferior messenger. The overarching idea is that increasing your value is all about making yourself a rare commodity, and being able to do something that very few other people are capable of doing. To this end, self-education will give you a rare combination of skills, often called a talent stack. You can watch my earlier video on talent stacks if you want more information on this concept, but the general idea is that being pretty good at a unique combination of things can make you more valuable than someone who just focuses on one thing. You can easily start making new additions to your talent stack by reading books and watching videos, and you can even cherry pick the best parts of formal education that you want but didn't focus on before by looking at the huge amount of university course materials that can be accessed online for free. With self-education in areas that most people have ignored, you'll only face very limited competition in your career. Ultimately, using self-education to focus on building a unique set of skills means you can create a monopoly in the business of being you. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, then don't forget to subscribe.